Before we begin, we just want to say thank you. Every like, every comment, every new subscriber truly keeps the deep dive alive. Your support means the world to us, and it helps bring these life-changing ideas to more people every week. If this deep dive inspired you to take control of your road to wealth, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.
Now, let me ask you something genuinely provocative. What if the traditional safe path you were told leads to financial freedom?
Right.
Actually leads to a lifetime of waiting.
Yeah, we all know that playbook, don't we? It's drilled into us from childhood. Study hard, avoid debt if you can, get a good job, save 10% a year.
Dutifully populate your 401k.
Right, and then finally retire at 65, hopefully.
It sounds utterly safe, doesn't it? I mean, it's the very definition of responsible adulting, right?
Yeah.
Supported by decades of, well, financial media telling us this is the way.
But the sources we've analyzed today suggest something quite different. That's safety when applied to your financial roadmap. That might be the real hidden danger.
A danger? How so?
Well, we're talking about sacrificing the most vibrant, active, and, capable decades of your life.
Your youth, your energy.
Exactly. For a faint promise of a comfortable future way down the road.
Okay. So today, we are diving deep into the Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco. This is a philosophy that completely flips the script on conventional wisdom.
And our focus is, well, it's radical. Speed, ownership, and leverage.
Yes. We're trying to figure out how to get off that slow lane, the one where you're just trading time for money day after day.
And onto a path where your time is actually owned by you.
So our mission today is to really extract this radical philosophy behind fast lane wealth.
And contrast it sharply with the traditional slow lane roadmap we just talked about.
We need to use this source material, DeMarco's work, to reveal why control and mathematical leverage are absolutely essential.
Essential if you want to, compress maybe 40 years of financial struggle?
Exactly. Compress it into a much shorter, concentrated period of effort. It's about speed.
Let's hit the gas then.
So the core conflict DeMarco defines. He calls it wealth in a wheelchair.
Wealth in a wheelchair. Okay, let's unpack that term because it's harsh.
It is hard.
It's meant to be. It highlights the great deception embedded in that whole get-rich-slow dogma.
So the slow lane plan, it essentially forsakes the now, right? Those prime years of health and energy.
Yeah, you trade them away for a vague future promise. It forces an existence defined by frugality and sacrifice until retirement.
Which is often age 65 or even later for many people now.
It's really an indictment of the whole system. Yeah. The source material is blunt. Wealth is best experienced when you are young, vibrant, and able.
Not in the twilight of your life.
Right. Not where, as the book puts it, the destination often ceases at bankruptcy or a crisis of reckoning.
Wow.
Yeah, the cruel irony is you spend your entire life working to gain freedom at an age when your ability to actually enjoy it.
To travel, to be active.
To pursue physically demanding passions, whatever they are. That ability is severely diminished. Or gone entirely. And it also requires just a profound degree of hope, doesn't it? Hope that you'll actually survive to 65 and that your health holds up.
And hope the market cooperates for 4 straight decades. Which,
That's a lot of hope.
It is. And the moment that hope is punctured, maybe by a severe market crash like 2008, or a health crisis, or an unexpected layoff, that whole 40-year structure just collapses.
So that reliance on external, uncontrollable variables, that's why the author calls the slow lane strategy rooted in, UL?
Uncontrollable.
Yeah.
Limited leverage.
UL.
UL.
Yeah.
That's the key phrase. Uncontrollable and limited.
Okay. Let's talk about the cultural awareness of this, because deep down, I think we instinctively know young wealth doesn't follow those slow lane rules.
Oh, absolutely. Think about that preposterous MTV Cribs scenario DeMarco mentions.
Right. Picture it.
You get some 22-year-old Big Daddy giving a tour of his ridiculous multi-million-dollar compound, the indoor basketball court, the fleet of supercars.
Yeah.
And when the host asks how he afforded it all, he just shrugs and says,
"Oh, I got rich chilling in my Vanguard mutual funds and popping 10% of my wages into my 401k from my management job at the cell phone store."
It's laughable.
Because we subconsciously know that outcome is mathematically impossible on that kind of salary and timeline.
That's the critical truth right there. Young wealth doesn't come from just gainful employment and responsible saving. It doesn't.
It comes from a unique subset of society, doesn't it?
Pro athletes, entertainers, inventors, or, highly successful entrepreneurs.
People who utilize a formula for speed They achieve what the book calls an intrinsic value explosion, maybe?
Or they leverage a completely different equation altogether, something beyond just trading time for money.
Okay, so if we aren't professional athletes
Yes.
or lucky lottery winners, that different formula, the fast lane, it requires a new compass, right?
Exactly. We need to understand the fundamental difference between the three roadmaps that DeMarco says shape every single financial destiny.
Right. So the roadmap, it's more than just a budget.
Yeah.
It's your entire financial belief system, like the compass for your financial life.
Precisely. It dictates every action, every choice, and ultimately every consequence. And there are three main paths, starting at, well, the bottom.
Okay, roadmap 1, the sidewalker. This just sounds like a pure lack of discipline, maybe.
It's worse than just a lack of discipline. It's a state of perpetual jeopardy.
Yeah.
It's rooted in instant gratification.
Okay.
The sidewalker has absolutely no financial plan. None. Their financial state is defined as being one something from broke.
One something. Like what?
Like one major car repair, one layoff, one business deal falling through, one health crisis.
Right.
Any one of those things sends them into complete collapse or even homelessness.
Wow. And the source note's a pretty staggering statistic that aligns with this, doesn't it? Something like 85% of American families having zero or even negative net worth.
Yeah, it's shocking. Zero or negative net worth, yet they own all the toys to show for it. The nice car, the big TV.
They look rich, but they're financially hollow.
Exactly. Because the sidewalker's wealth equation is just mathematically devastating. It's
Wealth and income plus debt.
income plus debt. Okay.
They use credit and financing not as tools, but as supplements. They're just trying to maintain a lifestyle they haven't actually earned. So they get trapped in what DeMarco calls lifestyle servitude.
And they seek instant gratification above all else, which leads to a really dangerous psychological state, doesn't it? The author says they value their time at zero.
Exactly. That's a brilliant point in the book. Think about that anecdote he gives. People waiting hours in line for a free $6 bucket of chicken.
Or spending half a day arguing for a tiny refund on a bill.
Right. They prioritize that trivial, immediate monetary gain over hours and hours of their finite, non-renewable life, trading time for pennies.
And they're also susceptible to these three critical anchors to mediocrity, as the book calls them.
The first one is becoming a financial hitchhiker, just entrusting their plan entirely to others, their boss, the government, maybe the lottery.
Hoping someone else will solve it. Right. The second is believing wealth is an event. A lottery win, a lucky casino trip, a single massive stock trade, like it just happens to you.
Instead of being built.
Exactly. And the third, maybe the most fatal flaw, is assigning blame when things inevitably go wrong.
Ah, the law of victims. That's what he calls it, right?
Yes. And the philosophy behind it is powerful. You cannot be a victim if you don't relinquish power to someone capable of making you a victim.
So if your landlord raises your rent by 20%,
It's not the landlord's fault you're suffering, according to this view. It's the consequence of your choice to remain in a situation where you had no alternative, no control. The sidewalker constantly gives away control and then blames the controller.
okay, that's a tough perspective, but it makes sense in this framework.
Sure.
So that brings us to the path most of us were probably raised on, the seemingly reasonable roadmap 2, the slow lane.
Right. Slowlaner. Now, this person has taken some responsibility, which separates them from the sidewalker. They save, they budget, they might pay down some debt.
Sounds good so far.
It does. But they are still, according to DeMarco, predisposed to mediocrity.
Right.
Why? Because their goal is basically just, life isn't great, but hey, it isn't so bad either. They settle.
And their mathematical constraint is defined by that slow lane equation. Slow lane wealth, intrinsic value, your job, plus compound interest market investments.
And this strategy, as we mentioned earlier, is rooted entirely in uncontrollable limited leverage.
UL, uncontrollable and limited. Let's break that down. The limited part is time.
Exactly. Intrinsic value is what society pays you per unit of time. Could be hourly, annually, whatever. But the constraint is absolute.
Yeah.
You only have 24 hours in a day, and the average lifespan is, well, finite.
You can't work 400 hours in a day.
Nope. And even if you have a massive intrinsic value, say $500 an hour as a top surgeon, you're still capped by physical time, limited leverage.
Okay, and the second lever, compound interest. That also relies on time, right?
Yeah.
Decades of it.
Decades. It's based on three variables.
Yeah.
A long time horizon, like 30, 40 years.
Mhm.
A favorable yearly yield, which is completely uncontrollable.
The market does what it does.
Exactly. And a consistently invested sum over all those years.
Which is why the source calls it the plan of hope.
Precisely.
Hmm.
Hope the company doesn't lay me off. Hope the stocks rebound after the next crash. Hope the economy just holds steady for 4 decades straight.
And we saw what happened in 2008 when markets lost, what, 50%?
Yeah. When your entire wealth creation plan relies on something uncontrollable for 40 years,
Hmm.
you are taking a gigantic slow-motion gamble with the one life you have.
Okay. That's the risk we, as maybe the cautious listeners, need to understand before just dismissing the fast lane as being too risky. The slow lane is also incredibly risky, just spread out over a long time.
Which brings us finally to Roadmap 3, the fast lane. This is the complete pivot, mathematically and psychologically.
Okay, so the fast lane goal is different. It's financial freedom exclusive of age.
Yes. It redefines wealth to include youth, health, freedom, and prosperity now or much sooner.
Yeah.
And it does this by completely abandoning that uncontrollable limited leverage, UL.
For CU.
For controllable unlimited leverage, that's the game changer.
And the fast lane equation reflects that.
Totally. Fast lane wealth, net profit, plus asset value. This whole philosophy focuses on speed, ownership, and leverage. It purposefully removes or exploits that time constraint.
So it produces wealth in shorter periods, years, not decades.
That's the idea. By giving you control over the variables that actually drive profit and the valuation of what you build. Hashtag tag 4. Exposing the illusions of traditional financial advice. The slow lane trap.
Okay, if the job is the anchor of the slow lane, we have to look critically at what the source calls the criminal time trade. That sounds serious.
It is. DeMarco sees it as the core tragedy of the slow lane. You're literally trading your life piece by piece.
For pieces of paper, money, that promise freedom way later.
Yeah. He calls it the horrific 5-for-2 exchange. You trade 5 days of your life, your work week.
For 2 days of freedom on the weekend.
Right. The default return on your time is negative 60%. You're losing the majority of your life just to fund the minority of it.
Wow. Selling your freedom just to get the promise of freedom decades later.
Okay. And the source material breaks down exactly why jobs limit wealth. Right. Focusing on that limited leverage and limited control.
Yeah, there are a few key reasons. One, time trade is life trade. That's the most obvious constraint. If you don't show up, you don't get paid. You are the system. Scalability is impossible.
Yeah.
2, taxation. This is a huge structural problem for employees. Earned income is heavily taxed. If you climb the corporate ladder into higher earning management,
You can easily see up to 50% of your money just disappear. Income tax, state tax, before you even see a dime.
and your ability to shield that income, through 401ks or IRAs, it's severely limited compared to what a business owner can do.
Okay. Point 3.
Pay yourself last. This is critical. As an employee, everyone else gets paid before you. The government gets its cut first through withholding. Debt holders get paid. Your employer's business costs get paid. You get what's left.
Whereas wealth creation, DeMarco argues, requires paying yourself first, which employees are structurally unable to do, really. And fourth, dictatorship on income.
Meaning someone else sets your salary cap?
Exactly. Your income is dictated by someone else's perception of your value within their system. The source asks, rhetorically, ever get hit with a 1,000% pay raise from your boss?
No. That doesn't happen.
Right. Because your value is dictated by the market constraints of the company, not your personal ambition. You have very limited control over your earning potential.
Okay, but I can hear the cautious listener pushing back again. But wait. I can increase my intrinsic value. I can get a better education, go from $15 an hour to $150 an hour with an MBA or a specialized certification.
And that is the slow laners' natural reaction to UL, isn't it?
What?
They wage war on their intrinsic value using the education weapon.
The education weapon, okay.
They pursue expensive degrees, certifications.
Yeah.
But the fundamental structure remains exactly the same. They are still trading time for money, just at a higher rate.
They've improved the magnitude of the exchange, maybe?
Yes, the amount per hour, but not the process of the exchange. It's still fundamentally uncontrolled and unleveraged in the way the fast lane defines it.
And this often leads to that tragic situation where the education itself is financed with massive debt, creating what the book calls parasitic debt.
Parasitic debt. It's an apt term, isn't it? Because it literally feeds on your freedom. Financing a $200,000 degree for a job that pays maybe $60,000 a year creates indentured time.
Indentured time, meaning you're trapped.
You are trapped. You must continue working that specific job, maybe one you grow to hate, simply to service the debt. The debt steals your freedom and forces you to work. The education becomes like a Trojan horse, trapping you instead of freeing you.
That really makes the author's personal anecdote about his own college experience hit home.
Oh, yeah. It solidifies the point perfectly. He talks about spending 5 years in college racking up debt.
Only to end up where?
In a tiny 6x6 cubicle, cold calling elderly people out of a telephone book for some insurance firm. And his big realization was he could have done that exact same job straight out of middle school. The expensive degree added zero value to that specific function, but it added years of debt and constraint to his actual life.
So the ultimate takeaway there is experience is gained in action, sure, but if the action is just trading time, the environment, whether it's a fancy corporate job or a college degree, is kind of secondary to the actual system of wealth creation itself.
That's it. The system matters more than the setting. #5, the hypocrisy of the gurus.
Okay, so if this slow lane system is such a trap, why are we constantly bombarded with this advice, especially from high-profile financial personalities?
Wow, well, that leads us directly to what the book calls the paradox of practice.
Paradox of practice.
Yeah, many, maybe most financial gurus suffer from it. They teach the slow lane equation, save 10%, invest in index funds, etc.
While they themselves leverage the fast lane roadmap to get rich.
Exactly. They don't get wealthy by diligently saving 10% into a managed account for 40 years. How do they get rich?
By selling books, seminars, TV shows.
All of which are fast lane business systems, built for scale, leverage, and often passivity. They are producers selling information or entertainment.
So they might use the markets, sure, but it's for income and preservation after the wealth is already created by their business.
Precisely. It's not the primary engine for wealth creation. They already did the heavy lifting, the exponential growth, via a business system that adheres to fast lane principles.
You look at DeMarco's examples like Susie or David, they preach the gospel of mutual funds and cutting out the expensive coffee.
Right, focusing on the minutia of frugality, which is absolutely necessary if you're stuck in the slow lane with limited income.
But it's almost irrelevant to the fast laner who has generated exponential leveraged income through a business.
Exactly. The heavy lifting of wealth creation has to be done by the fast lane business first. Then you can worry about optimizing coffee expenses if you even care at that point.
This feels like the crucial deception then. They confuse the rules of wealth preservation with the rules of wealth creation.
Perfectly put. And the source drives this home with that powerful image of the Slow Lane financial radio show. Remember that?
Yeah, the caller whose savings got wiped out by a market crash.
The very thing the Slow Lane plan hinges on not happening or recovering from over decades. And what was the guru's advice?
It was just a weak palliative, wasn't it? Stick to the plan, recommit, rebuild.
More hope, hope, and hope. There was no actionable advice on how to actually regain control of the situation, how to change the underlying equation.
So the slow lane is basically a gambling plan disguised as a secure strategy.
That's DeMarco's argument. It forces the participant to accept limited control and limited growth in exchange for just perceived safety.
Whereas the fast lane, by contrast, relies on a defined mathematical process rooted in control.
Which leads us directly to the power of the new equation.
Okay, so if the slow lane is mathematically constrained, how does the fast lane actually bypass those constraints? It involves that system swap, right? Abandoning the uncontrollable limited leverage, UL.
For controllable unlimited leverage, CU, that's the core swap.
And the formula for speed, the fast lane equation, is
simple but powerful. Fast lane wealth is, quote, net profit plus asset value. We're focusing on controlling the variables that truly matter: scale, magnitude, and the multiplier effect on your asset.
All right, let's break down that first part. Net profit. The author defines this as profit units sold x unit profit, or basically scale x magnitude.
Yes. And this immediately introduces what DeMarco calls the law of affection.
A law of affection.
The faster and richer you become, the more lives you affect. It's that simple. You either affect a huge number of people in a small way, that's scale.
Like selling millions of cheap widgets.
Exactly. Or you affect a smaller number of people in a very significant way, that's magnitude.
Like selling a few very expensive high-value items or services.
Right. If you want to make millions, the law says you must affect millions, either number or an impact.
So a local sandwich shop owner, they affect maybe a neighborhood. That limits their scale.
Drastically. While a successful software application could affect millions globally, exploding its scale potential.
And the sandwich shop owner is structurally limited, right, by the number of sandwiches they can physically make and sell in a day.
Absolutely. But the software developer, once the product is built, has almost unlimited scale potential.
Hmm.
They can sell 1 million units almost as easily as they sell 10 with very little increased marginal effort.
That's controllable, unlimited leverage in action. Okay.
But the real explosive power, the thing that creates wealth incredibly quickly, comes from the second variable in the equation, asset value.
Right. Asset value. How does that work?
This is the genius of the fast lane, according to the book. Asset value, net profit x industry multiplier. This is how your paper net worth can explode far, far beyond just the simple profit you're making year to year.
Okay, the cautious listener again. Why would the market pay a multiplier on profits? Why wouldn't a potential buyer just wait and collect those profits themselves over time?
Because a well-built, sustainable business system is worth significantly more than just the sum of its current parts or profits. That multiplier exists because of factors you, as the fastlaner, can control.
Like what kind of factors?
Things like recurring revenue models. Subscriptions are much more valuable than one-off sales because they're predictable. Proprietary technology, something unique that creates a barrier to entry for competitors. Defensibility, strong branding, patents, maybe network effects that create a moat, market position. All these things add value beyond the immediate profit.
So if an industry multiplier is, say, 4, meaning a company in that sector is typically valued at 4 times its annual net profit.
Then every single dollar you add to your annual net profit instantly increases the potential selling price, the asset value of your company, by $4.
That's a 400% return on that extra dollar of profit in terms of valuation.
Exactly. That kind of exponential wealth building is just impossible to replicate by trading time for money in a job.
And this creates the potential for super fast wealth acceleration via liquidation events, selling the business.
That's often the ultimate goal for a fastlaner, selling the appreciated asset and transforming that massive paper net worth into real liquid capital. Cash in the bank.
The source gives that hypothetical example, right? John Twitnuts and his viral social networking site.
Yeah, the site has enormous user scale, millions of users, but maybe zero revenue or profit yet. But then a big search engine comes along and offers him $640 million for it.
Why would they pay so much for something not making money?
Because the asset itself, the user base, the attention, the data, the potential future profit stream, had immense strategic value to the buyer in the marketplace. That is asset value, completely divorced from current profit or time trade.
And that decision point for John Twitnuts, take the $640 million now or gamble that it might be worth even more later?
That's the crux of it. That decision, enabled by building a valuable asset, is the difference between becoming an overnight millionaire and maybe just fading away as a future footnote. Liquidation events, or even the potential for one, are what allow 30-year-olds to be financially free while their peers are still grinding away, maybe struggling with student loans. So the ultimate goal of the fast lane, the end game, is to completely divorce wealth from time.
How do you do that?
By cultivating what DeMarco calls a money tree.
A money tree. Okay, the metaphor is clear. A system that generates income passively.
Exactly. It's the system, maybe the business, maybe the investments funded by the business sale that produces passive income. And the definition of freedom is simple. If your monthly passive income exceeds your monthly lifestyle expenses, including taxes,
then you're financially free, regardless of your age.
Correct. A money tree is a business system that survives on its own. It might require periodic nurturing, some oversight, but it operates exclusive of your daily time commitment. It becomes your surrogate for that old time for money trade.
It allows you to own your time instead of time owning you.
That's the core idea.
But there's a crucial warning here in the book, isn't there? Many people confuse plain old self-employment with a true fast lane business.
Oh, absolutely. The source is very clear. Not all businesses are fast lane businesses. Self-employment can very easily lead to what he calls business servitude.
Business servitude, like the example of Jillian's deli franchise.
That's a perfect illustration. She bought into a well-known brand, which seems like a good move, but between the 7-day work weeks, the incredibly long hours, and the slim profit margins that were constantly eroded by franchise royalties.
She couldn't afford to hire a manager to run it for her?
Exactly. She was earning maybe $90,000 a year, which sounds respectable on paper, but she had zero free time. Her business, despite being profitable, actually failed her because it just bought her a job that demanded even more of her time than a demanding corporate position might have. She was trapped.
Okay, so if we want to build a real money tree, not just buy ourselves a job, we need to make sure we're planting the right kinds of seedlings. What are the 5 money tree seedlings the book identifies? The systems designed for scalable passivity.
Right. These are the main categories where you can build that necessary leverage and potential for passive income. Number one, rental systems. This is the classic one. Renting out assets you own. Real estate is the obvious example, but also things like patents, licenses, maybe intellectual property like music royalties. The key is the asset is already built or acquired and requires relatively low recurring time to manage. Passivity grade the book gives is A.
Okay, rentals. Makes sense. Number 2.
Computer systems. This is huge today. The internet software automation platforms. DeMarco argues this is arguably the best Fastlane road because the internet naturally satisfies all the Fastlane commandments we'll get to later, scale, automation, etc.
Like a software as a service, a SaaS platform.
Exactly. A SaaS business, once built and functioning, can run 204/7, acquire customers, process payments, deliver the service, all without your direct minute-to-minute involvement. That's high passivity grade. A plus A.
And the difference between, say, just a service website where I manually fulfill every order versus a SaaS product is crucial here, right?
Absolutely critical. A website where you're the one doing the work behind the scenes is still fundamentally trading time for money. It might be your own business, but it violates the time commandment. A piece of software that automates the core functions, that's a potential money tree. Automation is the engine.
Okay, number 3.
Content systems. This is about information fused to other systems. Think books, blogs that generate ad revenue or affiliate income, online magazines, educational courses. The beauty here is that information is easily replicated at near zero marginal cost.
Like J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter brand, the creation was incredibly time-intensive up front.
Immense effort. But now the distribution of books, movies, merchandise is largely automatic and scales globally. That's a content system working passively. Passivity grade, B plus what? Still needs updating and management, but highly leveraged.
Got it. Number 4.
Distribution systems. This is about moving products, either yours or someone else's, to the masses. Think franchising, like McDonald's, the system creator, gets passive income. Chaining multiple locations of a successful concept. Using platforms like QVC or Amazon FBA, large-scale e-commerce logistics.
So leverage appears when ownership scales. The difference between owning one hot dog cart versus a system for managing 500 hot dog carts.
Exactly. The system is the asset, not the individual cart. Passivity grade, B, can be passive, but often involves significant infrastructure.
And the last one, number 5.
Human resource systems. This means relying on employees to run the operation. This is obviously necessary for almost any large company, but DeMarco ranks it lowest for passivity.
Why lowest?
Because it's the most complicated and expensive seedling to manage. Adding employees inherently erodes pure passivity. Managers need managing. Problems constantly arise. HR issues, training, payroll. It requires significant oversight. Passivity grade. C, necessary for scale sometimes, but not inherently passive. Hashtag ADAM. The producer mindset and the power of choice.
Okay, so to even begin planting any of these seedlings, the book argues a fundamental internal shift has to happen first. We need the producer mindset.
Yes. The distinction DeMarco makes is binary, almost stark. Producers are the minority. They tend to be the rich. Consumers are the majority. They tend to be the poor or middle class struggling.
So the sidewalkers and slowlaners are fundamentally consumers of systems created by others.
Right. They consume products, services, media, employment opportunities. The Fastlaner has to consciously switch teams, become an entrepreneur, an innovator, a creator who offers value to the world rather than just consuming from it.
And this producer needs resources to build things, which is where money comes in. The book says money is your army. Every dollar saved is a freedom fighter.
Exactly. And this is where the Slowlane's financial wisdom saving money gets co-opted and amplified by the Fastlane. Compound interest is powerful, but DeMarco argues it's most effective not when you're trying to grow a tiny seed investment over 40 years.
Like paddling a small canoe far from shore.
Right. But when you're riding a massive tidal wave near land, the Fastlaner uses the exponential power of their business creation first to generate the large principal sum needed.
The tidal wave.
Yeah, the big chunk of capital. And then compound interest can become truly meaningful in preserving and growing that wealth, maybe bypassing decades of slow incremental growth. The business does the heavy lifting first.
Okay. And the Fastlane journey, building that business, it's accelerated by the power of choices.
Absolutely central. Choices are the steering wheel of your life. They create your process day by day, and your process ultimately dictates your lifestyle and your results.
And we have to identify and eliminate what the book calls treasonous choices.
Yes. These are actions that do irreparable, catastrophic harm to your future dreams. They can wipe out years of progress in an instant.
The source provides a really powerful, sobering anecdote about that, doesn't it? The millionaire who lost everything.
It's a stark warning. A highly successful individual built multiple businesses through fast-lane principles, but then through a single treasonous choice, specifically driving drunk, tragically killed a family.
And the consequences.
He lost everything. His businesses, his freedom, went to jail for 11 years, his wealth, gone. That single reckless choice completely negated years and years of diligent fast-lane commitment and success.
And other things can be treasonous choices too, right? Like high-risk debt, actions that damage your health or reputation.
Anything that fundamentally undermines your ability to execute your plan or destroys the assets you've built.
And it's not just the big, obvious bad choices. Even small choices have a massive cumulative impact because of the impact differential.
Right. Think of that golf club analogy. If the club face is rotated just a tiny fraction of a degree off-center when you hit the ball,
Over a short distance, maybe it only lands 5 feet off course.
but over the full 300-yard drive, that tiny initial error is magnified enormously, sending the ball way off into the woods. Youthful choices, the book argues, radiate the most horsepower. A small course correction in your 20s can result in a monumental difference in where you end up in your 40s or 50s.
So pay attention to the small choices early on. And finally, all of this starts with a choice of perception, doesn't it? Wiping the windshield clean.
Yes. Action flows from perception, from belief. If you truly believe deep down, I'll never afford a life of freedom or I could never build a successful business, then your actions will inevitably support that belief, reinforcing mediocrity. You won't even try.
But the fast laner has to choose a different perception.
They must choose the perception of possibility. Like the author seeing an expensive car as a kid and thinking, someday I'm going to own one of those. Not, wow, I'll never afford one. That simple initial choice of perception, of belief, is the ultimate starting point. It unlocks the potential for action.
Okay, so the fast lane road. It sounds powerful, but it's not just a simple highway, is it? The book says it's paved with, like, toll roads, designed to weed out people who aren't serious.
That's a good way to put it. DeMarco synthesized the essential rules, the non-negotiables for success on this path, into 5 core commandments.
And we can remember them by the acronym CENTS, right?
Yes, CENTS stands for control, entry, need, time, and scale. And the critical point is, a successful fast lane business must honor all 5. If you violate even one, you seriously risk being pushed back onto the slow lane, or worse, ending up in that business servitude trap we talked about.
All right, let's start with the N in CENTS. Need, the king. The core principle sounds brutally simple. Businesses that solve needs win. Stop being selfish.
It sounds simple, but this is where DeMarco claims 90% of new businesses fail right out of the gate.
Why?
Because they're based on fundamentally selfish premises. The founder is thinking, I need a new income stream, or I just want to do what I love, or simply, I want to get rich.
They're chasing money, not solving problems.
Exactly. They're money chasers, not value creators. The focus must turn outward, away from your own needs and desires, and onto the unmet needs and problems of the marketplace. The philosophy is, give first, solve a problem first, and then you earn the right to take second.
And this ties back directly to the law of affection we mentioned earlier.
Precisely. If you want to make millions, you have to affect millions. How do you affect millions? By solving their problems or fulfilling their needs.
The book says guaranteed wealth comes from making 1 million people achieve one of 6 things.
Yeah, the list is make them feel better, solve a genuine problem they have, educate them, make them look better, status, appearance, help house them, or provide them with security, financial, physical, emotional. If your product or service doesn't clearly achieve one of those 6 outcomes for a lot of people,
It probably doesn't solve a strong enough need, and it will likely struggle to gain traction or scale.
that's the idea. This also directly challenges that very popular advice, do what you love.
Ah, the do what you love fallacy. How does that fit in?
Look, it's a pleasant idea, right? We all want to love our work. But DeMarco argues it's a major failure point for actual wealth creation unless 2 very specific conditions are met.
Okay, what are the conditions?
1, your love, your passion, must actually solve a genuine paying need in the marketplace. People have to be willing to pay for it. And 2, you must be truly exceptional at it. Good isn't good enough if the market is crowded or the need isn't strong.
So if you love, I don't know, competitive dog grooming, but the market willing to pay premium prices for it is tiny, and you're only mediocre at it.
It remains a hobby, not a viable fast lane business. DeMarco stresses that passion for the end goal, achieving financial freedom, owning your time, that's what truly drives fast lane success. The passion for the specific industry or task is secondary. The industry is just the vehicle you choose to deliver value and solve a need.
Okay, moving on to E in CENTS. Entry, the traffic. The idea here is crowded roads move slowly.
Exactly. This is basic supply and demand applied directly to entrepreneurship. The easier it is to get into a particular business, the more traffic there will be, meaning more competitors.
And more competitors usually means lower profit margins, and you have to be way better just to survive, let alone thrive.
Precisely. We need to contrast low-entry, high-traffic businesses with high-entry, low-traffic businesses.
Okay, so low entry examples, things that are easy to start.
Think about things like generic network marketing, day trading stocks, or crypto with a small account, writing generic self-published ebooks on Amazon, maybe affiliate marketing with common products. There's little or no real restriction to starting.
Which means millions of people are trying it.
Millions. So to succeed, you had to be truly exceptional. You need incredible skill or luck or timing just to rise above the noise and achieve any significant wealth. The odds are stacked against you because of the sheer volume of competition.
Okay, so contrast that with high entry, low traffic roads.
These are businesses that require significant barriers to entry. Maybe high capital investment, like starting a manufacturing plant. Maybe deep, specialized knowledge, like developing a new medical diagnostic tool. Maybe complex systems or regulatory hurdles, like launching a new type of financial service.
Because it's hard to get into, there's naturally less competition.
Far less competition.
Right.
Which dramatically increases your likelihood of success if you can overcome the barrier, and it usually allows for much higher profit margins, greater magnitude.
This brings us back to the book's critique of network marketing, MLM. It seems to violate this commandment pretty directly.
It violates both entry and control, according to DeMarco.
Okay, how does it violate entry?
Well, how hard is it to sign up for most MLMs? It's trivially easy. Pay $99 or whatever for a starter kit, and boom, you're in business.
Because entry is so incredibly low, the traffic is astronomical. Millions of distributors.
Which means only the tiniest fraction of a percent at the very top ever makes significant money. Usually it's the people who started the whole system in the first place, or maybe a few with truly exceptional pre-existing sales networks and skills.
And it violates control, too.
Massively. MLM distributors are essentially commissioned salespeople disguised as entrepreneurs. They're working for the Fastlaner who actually created the system. They're selling someone else's product, using someone else's marketing plan, adhering to someone else's pricing structure.
They're the definition of those financial hitchhikers we talked about earlier, relying on someone else's vehicle.
Exactly. They don't control the core elements of the business.
Which leads us perfectly to the C in CENTS, which the source insists is absolutely non-negotiable. Control the driver. You must be in the driver's seat of your own financial plan and your own business.
Yeah, DeMarco is emphatic about this. You are either driving your financial life or you are a passenger, a hitchhiker. And if you're a passenger, someone else is in control, and their destination might not be yours.
Control is instantly lost
When you're employed, your boss controls your income, your tasks, the company's direction. When you participate in network marketing, the parent company controls everything. When you're paying rents and royalties instead of receiving them.
As an employee, you lose control over pricing, product decisions, marketing strategies, and ultimately the value of the company you work for. If your employer decides to pivot the company, lay off your entire division, or shut down,
your income stream vanishes instantly. You had no control over that outcome.
Whereas a true Fastlaner, they control.
They control their pricing. They control their product specifications and development. They control their marketing channels and messaging. They control their operational costs. And critically, they control their asset value. They build the business in a way that maximizes its potential selling price, the multiplier. If the driver decides to pivot or sell the company they built,
they reap the rewards, not the employee who's just along for the ride.
No.
Okay, but this is where the cautious listener might push back hard again. Isn't ownership much riskier? If I own my own company, say an LLC, and I hire employees, doesn't that expose me to way more liability than just being a safe employee who can walk away if things go bad?
That's a totally valid slow lane fear, and it's a real consideration. However, DeMarco argues that to gain financial control, you must own yourself first.
Own yourself first. How?
By establishing a favorable business entity, typically a C Corp, an S Corp, or an LLC, depending on your situation and location. This entity does two crucial things. First, it acts as a shell, shielding your personal assets from business liabilities, assuming you operate it correctly.
Okay, liability protection. That addresses the risk concern somewhat.
And second, and just as importantly for wealth building, it allows you to legally pay yourself first.
How does the entity allow you to pay yourself first? I thought employees pay themselves last.
As a W-2 employee, taxes are taken out first. But when you operate through your own business entity, you gain access to a whole range of legitimate business deductions. You can potentially write off expenses for equipment, maybe some travel, health insurance premiums, retirement contributions before calculating the profit that gets taxed.
So the business pays for legitimate expenses, then you pay yourself, and then the government gets paid last on the remaining profit.
In simplified terms, yes. It radically changes the cash flow dynamics and can significantly increase your net profit compared to earning the same gross amount as a W-2 employee. This control over the financial structure allows you to optimize the system to maximize both profit and asset value. It puts the steering wheel firmly in your hands.
Right. Commandment 4, the S in CENTS scale, the playground. The idea is your total pool of potential customers, your market reach, determines your habitat. And tiny habitats create tiny wealth.
Exactly. Scale is the toll booth to accessing that law of affection we keep mentioning. If your business is inherently incapable of serving or influencing a large audience, you are fundamentally handicapped. Your potential for leverage is limited.
Let's revisit the example of the sandwich franchise owner on Main Street. He owns his business, maybe he has control, maybe he serves a need, but scale.
He violates scale massively. He bought a job, not a truly scalable business. His scale is limited by geography, the people within driving distance of his shop. It's limited by time, the number of hours the shop is open. And it's limited by his personal capacity, the number of sandwiches he or his small staff can physically make and sell in one day.
So to increase his profit significantly, his only real options are to work even harder himself or open a second, entirely new location.
Which just multiplies his time commitment and complexity, likely without exponential returns. It's linear growth, not scalable growth.
So fastlaners must actively seek business models that allow them to either impact millions of people, that scale and reach,
or impact fewer people, but in a very significant way, with very high unit profit, that scale and magnitude.
and ideally they combine both for the biggest potential.
That's where billion-dollar outcomes can happen. Think of something like Google or Facebook, massive reach and significant value extraction per user through ads or data.
And the internet gets highlighted again here, doesn't it, as having a natural advantage for scale.
Huge advantage. The internet inherently makes the entire world your potential upper limit. It provides access to billions of potential customers. The cost to market a digital product to 1 million people online is a fraction of the cost required to open, say, 1,000 physical retail stores to achieve similar reach.
That's the controllable, unlimited leverage again, applied to reach.
Exactly. The internet is a scale machine.
Okay, finally, the T in CENTS, time, the asset. This seems like the ultimate goal. The business must be capable of becoming passive. Time should work for you, not against you.
This is the ultimate metric for true financial freedom, according to DeMarco. Is the system you build likely utilizing one of those money tree seedlings we discussed, the primary income driver? Or is your constant daily labor still required?
So the violation of the time commandment occurs when the business demands constant time trade, regardless of how profitable it might seem on paper.
Right. Think back to Ashlyn's coffee shop example from the book. She was earning a respectable living, maybe even more than her old job, but she was chained to it up at 4 a.m. every day to open, closing late at 8 p.m.
So her business, even though profitable, ultimately failed her by consuming her entire life.
It trapped her in business servitude, just like Jillian with the deli. A true Fastlane system should be designed and built from the outset with the explicit intention of achieving automation and operational independence from the founder's time.
It needs to be able to run without you being there every single minute.
That's the goal.
And achieving that kind of independence, building that system, it requires intense discipline and long-term thinking, which the source calls the law of process.
Yes. Wealth, DeMarco argues, is much like physical health. It doesn't happen overnight from one magic pill or one lottery ticket event. It requires discipline, sacrifice, delaying gratification, and unwavering commitment over time. It's not an event, it's a process. It requires a fundamental lifestyle shift away from the short-term, instant gratification focus of the sidewalker.
towards the long-term, potentially meteoric comfort and freedom of the successful Fastlaner.
Exactly. You build the system through focused effort so that later the system can run itself and provide for you.
Hmm.
Okay, so understanding the roadmaps, the equation, the CENTS commandments, that's all crucial knowledge. It's possessing the information. But the true accelerator, the thing that actually separates the wealthy from the dreamers,
Is execution.
execution,
Yeah.
plain and simple.
The author has that provocative description of ideas, neurological flatulence.
He does. It's blunt, maybe a bit crass, but his point is deadly accurate. Ideas are cheap. Everyone has ideas. Success is never just about the originality or brilliance of the idea itself.
It's about the quality of the execution.
Always. A so-so idea with brilliant execution, the book argues, could easily be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Think about Facebook.
They weren't the first social network, right? There was Friendster, MySpace.
Exactly. The idea of a social network wasn't unique to them, but they executed the concept better. Better features, better strategy, better scaling, better timing maybe. Execution made the difference.
So execution means actually taking the idea out of your head and putting it onto the roads of possibility, making it real.
Yes, building it, launching it, getting it out there. And crucially, you must be willing to accept the judgment of the ultimate arbiter, the world, the marketplace.
You have to put the product into the box, as the book says, and see how the world actually reacts.
Even if the reaction isn't what you hope for, you have to adjust immediately based on real feedback. And sometimes that feedback can be brutal. DeMarco talks about being prepared to receive hostile emails from unhappy customers or users.
And using that anger, that criticism, as valuable data to improve the system.
Instead of using it as a reason to get discouraged and quit, thick skin and adaptability are key to execution.
And this focus on execution is why investor interest centers on it, not just on clever ideas on paper.
Absolutely. Professional investors rarely, if ever, invest in just business plans, which are essentially just ideas written down. They invest in people, in teams, who have demonstrated track records of execution. They want to see tangible assets.
Like a functioning prototype, a growing user base, established processes, maybe early revenue.
Proof that the concept works in the real world, not just in a PowerPoint deck. If you want capital, you almost always have to execute first and prove the concept has legs. Execution attracts investment. Hashtag tag 15. The discipline of the Fastlaner.
Okay, so execution is key. But this journey, building something from nothing, it requires immense internal fortitude, doesn't it? Especially because society itself seems to exert this powerful gravitational force, pulling everyone back towards mediocrity.
It really does. You have to consciously break free of that deeply ingrained societal loop. Get up, go to work, come home exhausted, watch TV, maybe complain, go to sleep, repeat.
That loop leads directly back to the slow lane, or even the sidewalk.
Guaranteed. So you need what the book calls the discipline of the Fastlaner, to resist that pull, to resist the temptation of easy comfort and conformity.
And part of that discipline involves deodorizing the flatulent headwinds, another colorful term.
It is. Flatulent headwinds represent the negative, toxic forces around you that try to hold you back. Often, sadly, it's friends and family.
The people who say, oh, that'll never work, or that sounds too risky, or somebody's already doing that.
Exactly. These human headwind bloviators, as DeMarco calls them, add friction to your journey. They force you to expend valuable energy just overcoming their negativity and doubt.
So the advice is,
You have to consciously distance yourself from persistently toxic, negative, limited thinkers, or at the very least, learn to tune them out completely. Otherwise, you risk suffering a slow assimilation back to mediocrity just by proximity.
okay, to resist the headwinds. And the book also says fast lane winners are forged at the red line. What does that mean?
The red line represents pure, unadulterated commitment. It's about pushing yourself beyond normal limits, especially in the building phase.
It implies sacrifice, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It means foregoing many short-term comforts that others take for granted. Maybe the expensive car payments, the constant partying or socializing, the luxury apartment, in order to invest that time, energy, and money into building the asset for the long term.
For long-term, potentially meteoric comfort and freedom later?
Right. As the author famously says, to live unlike everyone else, you eventually have to do what everyone else won't. And often that means focused, intense work, discipline, and sacrifice while others are relaxing or consuming.
And this commitment, this execution, it can't wait for the perfect time or for external validation, can it?
No way. Opportunity is now. DeMarco uses another great analogy. Waiting for all the lights to go green before you start your journey is like waiting for the skies to turn purple on the third Wednesday in November.
It's never going to happen. Perfect timing doesn't exist.
Never. Opportunity, real opportunity, usually comes disguised as changes, problems, challenges, friction points, or unfilled needs in the marketplace. You have to train yourself to see them, grab them, evaluate the risks realistically, and then take immediate, even if imperfect, action. Momentum breeds momentum. Hashtag tag 16. Final steps and defining your destination.
Okay, so once the mindset is shifted, the commandments are understood, and the execution engine is running, you still need a clear destination. You have to set your number.
Meaning, transform that vague goal of getting rich into an actual actionable dollar amount.
Precisely. You need to define the exact lifestyle you want. Be specific. What kind of house? Where? How much travel? How much generosity or support for family? Then, you assess the precise monthly cost of that desired lifestyle, making sure to include realistic taxes.
Okay, get the monthly cost number, then what? Then you calculate the required money system target. This is the lump sum of capital you'd need to have invested, generating a minimum safe withdrawal rate or yield. DeMarco suggests 5% as a benchmark. That would produce enough passive income to cover that monthly lifestyle cost indefinitely.
So if my desired lifestyle costs $10,000 a month after tax, I need a system generating that much passively.
Right. Or, alternatively, you calculate the business system income target, the level of net profit your ongoing Fastlane business needs to generate each month to support that lifestyle directly without necessarily selling the business yet. Having that clear, measurable finish line is incredibly motivating.
And to manage that number, whether it's building the capital or managing the investments later, you absolutely must have financial literacy.
Non-negotiable. You don't need to be a Wall Street quant, but you must understand the basic rules of the road, how simple interest works, how bonds work, what compound interest really means, and how it functions. Basic P&L statements for your business.
Because financial literacy makes you vulnerable.
Extremely vulnerable to bad decisions, to unnecessary risk, and perhaps most dangerously, to outright fraud. People like Bernie Madoff preyed on financially illiterate individuals who trusted blindly and didn't understand the fundamental mechanics of investment returns and risk. You have to understand the game to play it safely.
Okay. Now, the standard slow lane dogma is live below your means. How does the fast lane interpret or adapt that advice? Is it still relevant?
It is relevant, but the intent is radically different. The fast lane adapts it to live below your means so you can expand your means exponentially.
Okay, explain that difference.
It's not just about minimizing expenses for the sake of saving a little bit more to maybe retire 5 years earlier. It's about keeping your expenses low specifically so you can funnel the maximum amount of capital, time, and energy into creating and scaling your Fastlane business system, the engine that generates wealth.
So the goal of frugality isn't just saving, it's investing in the growth engine.
Exactly. The focus shifts entirely from linear minimization of expenses to enabling the exponential growth of income and asset value.
So the fast lane focus is on dramatically expanding the means part of the equation, making the living below part almost insignificant later on.
That's the outcome. Why agonize over saving $5 on a coffee if your business system, once built, is generating $500 an hour for you passively? The frugal habits necessary for survival in the slow lane become largely irrelevant once the fast lane engine is successfully built and running. The priority is building the engine. Hashtag tag 17. Final takeaways and empowerment. So if we boil it all down, the core message of the Fastlane philosophy is really this. True financial freedom isn't achieved by passively trading your time for decades and just hoping the market cooperates.
It's not about get rich slow and hope.
No, it's actively built. By creating scalable business systems, those money trees that are designed from the start to produce passive income. And building those systems absolutely requires taking ownership, demanding control, the CUC and sense, and intelligently utilizing controllable unlimited leverage. The system has to be capable of working exclusive of your direct time input.
That's the essence of it. So the challenge we want to leave you, the listener, with is this. Can you identify just one single area of your life, maybe your work, maybe a side project, where you can start to shift your fundamental mindset?
Shift from that default slow lane thinking, being a consumer, having limited control, trading time towards more fast lane thinking.
Yeah. Thinking like a producer, looking for ways to maximize scale or magnitude, building a system, taking control. Maybe just take one small action today that pushes an idea out of that neurological flatulence stage.
And into measurable real-world execution, even a tiny step.
Because the greatest promise of this whole philosophy, maybe the most empowering part, is what DeMarco says about the fast lane being merciful on your past.
That's huge. Doesn't care about your degree or lack thereof. It doesn't care about your age, doesn't care about your past failures or bankruptcies. It's only concerned with your commitment today and your output tomorrow.
The system you build, the value you create, it doesn't ask for your resume, does it? It only responds to your execution.
Exactly. So the final thought is, what is the one thing you can start building today that could eventually render your past education and job history completely irrelevant? That's the potential power of the fast lane. Taking action, owning your choices, building your road.
If this deep dive inspired you to take control of your road to wealth, hit like, share it with a friend who might need to hear this, and please subscribe. Your support truly means the world to us and helps us keep bringing these ideas out.